Hello and welcome. We want to thank everyone for attending today's info session on open culture. Before we officially kick off our program, we just want to address some general housekeeping items. First of all, can you hear me? Please let us know if any of the presenters are speaking too fast or too softly, and you can do that through the chat feature. The automated closed captioning feature is available for those who wish to use it. Video is enabled for presenters only. Participant mics will be muted throughout the session, and the raised hand feature will be disabled. All questions should be submitted through the Q&A feature. We will go to Q&A following the presentation, but while the presentation is going, you can certainly feel free to submit questions during the presentation. And then finally, note that this event will be recorded and posted on the Department of Cultural Affairs YouTube channel. We'll put the link in the chat. And then to get updates on future programs, you can sign up for the Department of Cultural Affairs newsletter at nyc.gov/culture or follow us on social media at NYC Culture. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our colleagues at the Mayor's Office for Citywide Events Coordination and Management, Shani Malloy, Associate Director of Events and Marketing. Welcome.
Hi, Ann. Thanks so much, and thank you everyone for being here. I'll turn it over to my team for some introductions before we jump into our presentation. Paresh?
Hi, I'm Paresh, Director of Operations, CECM. Shanique?
Hi, I'm Shanique. I am I'm Director of SAPO.
Hi, I'm Jeannie. I am the Special Events Manager for Open Culture.
Okay, Paresh, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, let's hop right to it. So welcome. We are Citywide Event Coordination and Management and the Street Activity Permitting Office, CECM/SAPO. And we're basically going to go discuss who we are, really highlight event permitting, focusing on open culture permitting and the e-apply experience. So who are we? CECM supports all applicants as they plan their upcoming events. We provide oversight on all event permitting activities, advise and assist the mayor in coordination of policies, procedures, and ops in relation to permitting, and work directly with other city agency partners to ensure active communication with the residents, the community boards, and business improvement districts. So events in our city are both safe and enjoyable for all. Within our office of CECM, we have the Street Activity Permitting Office. That's Shanique, who Shanique directs. And SAPO issues permits for static events that take place on DOT property, Department of Transportation property, i.e. city streets, sidewalks, curb lanes, and pedestrian plazas. CECM is also home to the CEMS, which is the backend database, and e-apply database. E-apply is the front ending. That manage permitting, offer conflict detection, and facilitate applicant and interagency correspondence for SAPO, NYC Parks, Film, NYPD, and other agency and partners. Next slide there. So for a CECM overview, this is just a real visual on all the entities that we work with. They include federal, state, city agencies. They include quasi-city/private entities. They include private entities. You can see like Con Ed on the bottom, Lyft and Uber and City Bike. Next slide, please. So each year, just to level set, to throw a quick stat out at you. Last year, we received over 8,200 application requests, right, Shanique? And of those, we approved over 6,300. Of those 6,300, there are at least 300 high-impact events. And those high-impact events include things like concerts, drone shows, races, waterways, fireworks, parades, major street festivals. Next slide, please. So, Shanique, you want to take this over?
Sure. So the citywide events that we oversee include the Hip Hop 50 block parties, the Rise Up concerts, the Ticker Tape parades, the New Year's Eve in Times Square, Macy's Thanksgiving, Macy's July 4th celebration, the Met Gala, the NYC Marathon, Sail GP, the US Open, the Global Citizens, and the Governor's Ball. Go to the next slide. Then we have our SAPO overview. These are agency programs that we permit, which is Open Culture, Open Street Partner Events, Bike the Block, Summer Streets, Car Free Earth Day, Trick or Streets, Fifth Avenue Holiday Open Streets, our Bid Multi-Block, our Benefits on Your Block, the NYC Kids Festival, and National Night Out. Next slide, Sean. Yeah, our events that we permit. Open Culture, we'll turn that over to Jean.
All right, cool. Yes, we're here to talk about open culture. So for the open culture permit, the applicant or sponsor must be an art or cultural institution. Your event must be free, must be open to the public, and offer free services or information. The event itself can only be one block and for one day only. At the event, there is no fundraising, no sale of goods or services. And some examples of this is like cultural performances, rehearsals, and classes. And these applications must be submitted 15 days prior to the event. There is a $25 non-refundable processing fee, and you do have to provide us some documentation, some proof of you are an arts or cultural institution. So just to define that, an art or cultural group, organization, institution within the city of New York is a member of the cultural institutions group, and this is determined by DCLA. You are eligible to apply for a grant through the Cultural Development Fund administered by such department, or you provide documentation of funding from a borough arts council. And then the final thing is if you have any kind of fiscal sponsorship from either one of these entities, you are eligible for this permit. So
yeah, I'll jump in here. So one of the things that we provide on an annual basis is towards the end of the year, we take a look back and contact, the arts councils and DCLA and get a sense of the quantity of grantees, and we do a comparison and report out on of those that were eligible, how many have actually applied. Of those that applied, how many have we actually approved the open culture events? So this is, by law, we kind of post this, not kind of, we post this on our CECM website, and there is an open cultures link. We'll distribute these slide decks, a couple days out, and that'll include this link here. But this is just where it's located on our website. And the next page actually shows you a sample of last year's report from 2025. Next slide, please. On to you, Shanique.
Okay, so these are some of our event types, which we'll get into, but it's cleanups. We have farmers markets, health fairs, religious events, mobile units, block parties. We have press conferences, stationary demonstrations, single block festivals, and street events. We can go to the next one. So just to go into a little bit more detail here, we have our block parties, which the timeline, the deadline for that one is 60 days. Our farmers markets are 60 days. Our religious events are 60 days. Our cleanups are 60 days. Our health fairs are 30. Our mobile units are 60. Go to our next one. Our press conference and rallies and demonstrations have to be applied for 10 days in advance. Single block festivals are 90 days. Street festivals have to be submitted by December 31st, but be mindful there is a moratorium. So if you didn't have a street festival before, you won't be able to have one. But if you did, it has to be in by December 31st. Our street events, the range is between 14 to 45 days in advance. Our plazas are 14 to 60, depending on which one you select. And now production is 10 days. Next slide. Then we have our civic events, which are sponsored by non-for-profit organizations. They're open to the public, no fundraising component, provide free services or information to the community. They support the mission of the sponsor. We have examples here. They can include artistic or cultural performances or educational classes or religious. Once they are verified, once we receive your documentation, we look at it, we can see if your event can be deemed civic. And if it can, then we will give you a discounted fee to which would vary depending on the size of your events. One thing to remember, though, is that civic events can include signs that have banners or signs that have more than 10% of the sponsor's logo. If you exceed that, then we will have to classify your event as something different than civic. So please keep that in mind. And if your event does not meet the criteria of an open culture, we can try to see if we can make your event civic. So this is something to keep in mind if you don't fall into that category. Go on to the next one. SAPO e-apply, and I'm going to turn that one over.
All right, so the e-apply process. So to apply for a SAPO permit online, you're going to visit the CECM website at e-apply. You're going to create an account, complete the registration enrollment form totally free. You're going to choose the type of event you would like to apply for. You're going to fill out a questionnaire with as much detail as possible and attach documents if necessary, and then you're going to pay a non-refundable processing fee by credit card. Once the processing fee is paid, the application is transmitted directly to us, to SAPO, and the appropriate community board where applicable. And so you're going to submit the application through e-apply. This is the CECM website. You're going to find that small box that says apply for a permit and click on it, and it'll take you to the main login. So you have established your login. You're going to put your email address, your password in, and it'll pull up a dashboard. The dashboard has events that you've already submitted or may have yet to submit. And then the key here is you can find the apply now box, and you can click that.
And before you get to the next screen, I just want to chime in. Sorry, Jeannie. Is that the one thing in the user login is if you don't have an e-apply account, you can click on, there's a link right there to register. It's a very quick, free, like 2-minute process. Next slide.
So you're going to find all of these permits on the e-apply or event types. And so then you're going to go down to the open culture one. And this will bring up the eligibility, which we did discuss previously. Just run that through, type in your name, save and continue. This will populate with the information that you already signed up for with your account. So this should pull up all of the information you put in previously when you open the account. This will be your opportunity to drop in the producer of the event and the sponsors of the event. The next piece is the event information. So this is going to be the title of the event, a small description, your setup date, your start date, your end date, and when you are clear of the street. The location information here is going to be the street your event's on or the area your event's on with the cross street as well.
And I'm going to chime in because I can't help myself with locations. You can type in whatever you want, but say if you put in Broadway Boulevard in Manhattan, the system is going to spit back out to you, do you mean Broadway? And it's going to come in highlighted in red. So we try, it's connecting to DOT's urban planning database. So it's all based on the maps. And there's a point to this because it maps out to precinct, the precinct it falls in, the community board it falls, and there's a whole kind of interconnectivity going on. There you go.
Yeah, incredibly handy. And then from there, we'll pull up a questionnaire, which will have a laundry list of items, just all about your event. Get as specific as possible, so we know exactly where to, how to handle your event.
And on that questionnaire, it is a mile long, but it's out of necessity. Answer to the best of your knowledge of what you anticipate. So, for example, if you think you're going to build a stage of some sort, it's going to say, are you going to build a stage? You answer yes. And then it's going to ask you, what are the dimensions of this? And depending on the dimensions, if they exceed a certain sort of square footage, that may warrant something like a DOB permit. So that's just an example. Sorry, Judy, keep going.
Oh, no, perfect. All right. And so we come now to the documents upload. So this is where you're going to put your eligibility letter. You're going to be putting your beautiful site map, your gorgeous motor show, and your insurance, any documents that we need to see for required documents for your event. So here we have a sample of a DCLA grant letter. So this letter, it must come with your open culture application. There will be a letterhead right there, right at the top. It says cultural DCLA, cultural affairs. And then the name on it must match either the applicant or sponsor on the permit application. Very important. And this is an example of a Borough Arts Council grant letter. So you've got that letterhead, the name on there matches the applicant or the sponsor. And in some situations, if you have been denied for a grant, we can work with you to get an open culture permit in certain situations, case by case. Here is the event review. So this is your opportunity to just dig deep and make sure that you have all the information in there correctly. If something doesn't look correct, you can smash that edit button and go back and fix it. And then from there, you'll be sent over to CityPay, where you can submit your $25 processing fee.
Great. Thanks, Jeannie. So just to recap, here's the flow. SAPO, once you've submitted it, you paid your $25 application fee through Department of Finance's CityPay website. Boom. It hits our queue. When I say ours, it's the database behind the scenes called CEMS, Citywide Event Management System. The SAPO team, Janique's team, retrieves the application, and Jeannie, which is part of, she plays a part in this with open culture. She retrieves the application from the queue and notifies the relevant agencies. Relevant agencies include community boards and NYPD. SAPO and other agencies and partners review the application. Additional documentation and supporting permits may be required. It's best to give as much information up front, but you may not have a perfect run-out schedule yet. You may not have all the elements on your site plan. So again, you will be reminded that these elements are due, or this documentation is due. Applicant must submit all required documentation, and that includes insurance, the site plan, a run a show, and/or production schedule, and supporting permits. Remember, I was mentioning the example of a stage being built surpassing certain dimensions, and that would warrant a DOB permit, for example. If I think a common thing for open culture applicants, right, Jeannie, would be a sound permit. So you would need to acquire a sound permit from your local precinct. And then step 4, NYPD and Community Board recommends approval or denial of the application. The application assesses a fee if applicable, and once the payment is received, the application is approved. I think in the case of open culture, we don't have that, but CECM then and SAPO staff attend and monitor large-scale events. So a couple of more bells and whistles for e-apply. Jeannie referenced this in her introduction. When you sign on, if you're an active applicant and user of e-apply, you're going to have an active dashboard. And on the top pane, you have submitted applicant events, meaning you pay the $25 fee and it's in pending, withdrawn, approved, status. And then on the bottom, you have application drafts. Those are things that have not hit our queue. In other words, you are either working on them or you just never decided to submit them. Next slide. So a couple of things. E-apply, once you submit, you are already given sort of access to pieces of information that you entered. You can't make changes on the fly at this point because the application has been submitted, but this gives you access to what you did initially, fill out. And so on this, the key thing is remember your event ID, or go back to e-apply and know your event ID, because it's the best way to connect to SAPO to say if you have a question. Next slide. So another tab, if you look on the very top, the visuals may be a little small, but what's highlighted now is the location tab. And this basically just shows you the map, orange representing SAPO, and it shows the street it's on and the intersecting streets. You can also notice that it shows the borough, the type of street closure. I think in the case of open culture, Jeannie, correct me if I'm wrong, they're all full street closures, full street side, correct? And it'll show other attributes. It'll show the community boards, police precinct, city council district. Next slide. So we're moving along with the tabs. Here's the tie-in back to the questions. When you answer yes or no to these questions, you will be given instructions. So if you said yes to a sound permit and your event location request falls within Queens Community Board 5, it's going to show you the precinct to get that sound permit from. We also will highlight the community board at the very top of every application we receive, not just open culture applications. And this is key. It is in the best interest of the applicant to kind of reach out to the community board and see if they require any other pieces of information. It just helps move the process along. Next slide. And in the event summary, so this applicant clearly owes us a lot of documentation, but anything in red basically indicates the kind of documentation that's missing. And applicants, and this is very specific for open culture applicants, you must upload that art and cultural institution eligibility proof, definitely a site plan, definitely run a show, and definitely insurance. And again, no need to beat this. It's exactly what I said. Next slide. Here's something that we've teed up, I think, 2 years ago, and it's become more robust in the past year. It is a resource library. So the moment you apply, the moment you sign on to eApply, I highly recommend taking a look at this, because this is where you can get great samples of, blank templates for a small site plan, a medium site plan, a large site plan. You can get a template for a production schedule, a template for a run a show. And then we'll even offer up some samples, to get the juices going on what kind of pieces of information you should provide. Next slide. And these are just samples. Again, we will distribute this, a couple days after this presentation to everyone here, or to Ann, and Ann will see that people get it. So that's a sample small street. Next one. Medium, and then a large. And with the large, you can see like we're listing vendors, we're showing the 15-foot emergency lane and whatnot. Next slide. And here are just samples of a run a show and a production schedule. And again, anyone with an eApply account can access these templates. Next slide. And so this is just a form letter we send out. This is an across the board sort of requirement. It's to protect the city and to protect the applicants, right? So it's a insurance policy that we request of each of the applicants, and this is just a form letter guiding you to what should be on that policy. Next slide. So in eApply, and this is a real key feature, we offer a correspondence tool. And in that correspondence tool, you can choose, categories. And I can't really see, but one of the categories could be like a date change of some sort, requesting a date change. And there's a bucket for that. And you could choose that category and type your ask. And immediately that SAPO borough manager, and in this case it's Jeannie, will receive that. She'll receive an automatic notification in her inbox, and she'll be able to see it in the back end database and correspond back and say, okay, we can work with that data, or we that date's not available. How about this date? And so it's kind of like a slow burning chat, so to speak, right? But it is the number one way to get information back and forth flowing. And the benefit of it is that it's a paper trail, right? So if there's any confusion, it beats emails and calls and all that. So we really strongly encourage all applicants to use this tool. And so what happens next? SAPO is automatically notified of the event or question. So this is, again, highlighting in a better way than the word salad I used. It basically automatically is notified, and your question is saved on your event summary. You receive an email notification when SAPO responds, and SAPO's response and your ongoing correspondence is saved. All right, so there's a whole sort of trail. That's what I was speaking about. Next slide. And so some other notifications and reminders. Again, instructions. So this is where you'll be guided to like what other supporting permits you may require depending on the yes and no's that you provided on the questions, right? So that's another piece of it. Next slide. And here's something that I don't know if we rolled this out within the last year or the last 2 years for sure, but we now have an email tab. And that email, and I understand that when things are coming from a database, i.e. CEMS, and we're notifying you as the applicant, things can go into the spam folder or emails can get buried. So rest assured in eApply, anything that's coming from us, be it from Jeannie or the SAPO team or the system automatically, we have a running record of it that you can access when you click on your event that's in pending status. Next slide. And we also send out notifications automatically to remind you. And I know life gets busy. If you are missing a site plan or run a show, we send out a first automatic notification 14 days out before your request event date. And then we send out another one that's a little more, stern that says, hey, you may run the risk of this getting denied because you're 7 days away and we have not received this documentation. Next slide. And then finally, not finally, but one of the other final features of this is that we have a copy event thing. So for any event that you've had prior that was approved, you as an applicant can copy it. And you'll still have to fill out things like dates, but the location should copy over. You still have to answer your questions. So it basically will copy like the event description. It'll copy the location. You do absolutely have to set up the dates again, but it kind of gives you a little, advantage in less filling out. Next slide. Shanique, you want to take over?
Sure. So this is responding to the applicant's denials. So the community board and Plaza's partners, they notify the applicants in writing of their recommendations for approval or approval with conditions or denials of the application altogether. Then you have the denial notifications, which include specific reasons for the community board's denial or the Plaza partners recommendation to deny. So with that, with the community board / Plaza partner appeals, the applicant has 5 business days from the receipt of the denial or recommendation to deny to write an appeal to me. Then if I say no, then you have 5 days to write an appeal to the executive director, which is Dawn Tolson. We can move to the next one. Then we have the additional permit information where SAPL approval doesn't constitute permission from other agencies. So just because we say, okay, we're going to approve it, if you need a DOT permit, our permit doesn't just give you the license to go ahead and do something that also needs DOT approval. So please keep that in mind. You must secure all necessary permits for the city of New York. Then we have which we talked about a little bit earlier, is the insurance of the minimum of 1 million certificate of liability that has to list the city of New York. Then we have the applicants or community sponsors for street fairs. They are limited to 1 event per application and 2 events per calendar year. Then we have all street events, including block parties and street fairs, are required to recycle. Non-compliance with this recycling regulation is punishable by fines, starting from $25 can go all the way up to $500. And it says make sure that everyone remembers that all events that require a full street closure must have a 15-feet emergency lane at all times. We can move to the next one. Then we have our ADA requirements. We want to make sure that events are accessible for people with various disabilities. So that should be included in your site plan when you're going over your events. Make sure that we have the ADA ramp and the wire covering and viewing spaces to be available when needed. Then the event cancellation, applications withdrawn or declined fewer than 10 calendar days prior to the event date will be assessed a cancellation fee of 90% of the city's costs to process their application. So please keep that in mind. And also, there are no rain dates. I'm going to move to our next one. And that's that. This is the leadership contact info. I know Paresh is going to send this out. So if you need it, you will have it there with everyone's email address if you need that information.
Yeah, definitely not my mugshot though. But yes, these are the not mine. These are the email address. Yeah. So we can send all that out when we distribute this. So thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna jump over to the Q&A and Paresh, Jeannie, Shanique, whomever can answer. If I can't as I go through, please chime in. So the first question, will the slide deck be sent out? Yes, it will. That should happen within a couple of days. The next question, can you not apply for an open culture permit prior to 15 days before?
You can absolutely apply way earlier. You just have a 15-day deadline. So if you want something 15 days from now, today's the day to do it. Tomorrow's not the day to do it.
Thank you, Paresh. Next question. What if a CBO does not have a budget for fees? Are there waivers?
So here's my question, Jeannie and Shanique, do we charge any fees for open culture events?
No,
No,
we
there's
don't.
We
not.
don't. We don't.
No.
So fees only come into play if you don't meet the qualifications of an open culture event. And that was the whole purpose of Shanique sort of giving you a quick overview of the other event types and also laying out what qualifies as a civic event. So step one is you qualify for an open culture event and you won't be charged. Step two is you, at least in good faith, applied and went through the rigorous process of applying for an open culture event. And I think we have several examples from last year alone where Jeannie and Shanique had processed the permit and had it approved. Step three is you don't fall in that bucket, and then we work with the SAPO team to see, okay, where does it qualify? And only in those cases, depending on what data elements you have, not data, what elements you're bringing to your event, there may be some fees assessed. It could be at a discounted rate or because you're a nonprofit, or it could be free. I'm not sure. There are a handful of events types that could be free, but that's sort of the flow of it. And Shanika and Jeannie, does that make sense what I said? Or
No, it does make sense. So it
okay.
just depends on your application. And once we receive it, we can review it and then see where we can help you and where we can assist you.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Our next question is, if our open culture event is approved, do you support with funds? And the answer to that is no. We are a permitting agency, so we are permitting the event for use of the DOT streets, sidewalks, and curb lanes. The production of your event to actually making it happen would be up to the organization. Next question. Are you able to address permit requests during World Cup? Any current restrictions?
So we just posted on the CECM website. So if you were just to Google NYC CECM, and I will, when we distribute the presentation, I will include some key links. The very first thing on the landing page you'll see is a FIFA World Cup embargo. You click on that, and it'll clearly lay out like key streets that we are anticipating heavy volume with that are going to be embargoed from events. At a very high level, we have a complete citywide embargo on all plazas July 3rd to July 8th. From June 11th to June 19th, we have
July 19th.
what would I say? We have July, say the dates for me.
June 11th to July 19th.
June 11th to July 19th, we have that embargo that I'm referring to of a full listing of streets. And again, the CECM website has that. And it's pretty quick to get to if you just Google NYC CECM.
Thank you, Paresh. The next question was another reference to sharing out the slides and link. We've answered that. We will. Any advice for folks who have approached precincts about sound permits for past events and have received the answer that they don't issue them within their precinct?
I would say if the permit comes to us, work with us because we have all sorts of contacts inside of that NYPD, and we can figure out what the answer for you is.
I mean, anything associated with the SAPO permit, we can assist in that area, right?
Yeah.
Shanique? But anything, outside of it,
Agree. NYPD is notified once you put in your application. So you getting a sound permit, there shouldn't be a problem once your event is approved in our office. So if you are having difficulty for a permit that you apply for, please let us know like immediately. But we will definitely help you make sure that you get your sound permit that goes with your event.
And listen, a suggestion just off the cuff outside of SAPO, if it's not for a SAPO permit, reach out to your community board. Know some of the other key players within that, that could help you with that precinct.
Okay, next question. is in regards to if there's any funding available for open culture events, and I answered that earlier. Next question. If we are doing an event at 13 different sites across the city on one day, would we need to fill out 13 different open culture applications?
Shanika's nodding her
Yes,
head.
I'm saying yes. Especially if they're in the same community board, then we can combine. But if they're not, then you have to fill out different applications for each.
Thank you, Shanique. Next question. Are there any streets or areas excluded from full street closures?
We don't have a listing of streets that are excluded for full street closures. That's really like a case by case. We'll go through the process. We'll send it out to NYPD, see, what their feel is for that location. Because sometimes, depending, there is situations that have transpired that we don't know about that NYPD will say, okay, no, this street is no good for a street closure. So we don't have that a running list. So we just take them as they come in.
Thank you, Shanique. Next question. Are applications processed and approved on a rolling basis?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Great. Next up, can we edit the application after we submit if we need to?
You won't be able to make edits, but you can go into the correspondence section of your application and make the needed changes. Whatever you're looking to change, just write whether you indicated the wrong location or you indicated the wrong date or you're looking to add something. You can go to the correspondence section and write that in there. And the borough manager that's handling your application will see it and then make the adjustment for you.
Yeah, and my advice, and Shanique, I think you would agree with me, keep the request direct, right? Like, so if you made a mistake and you realize you're building a stage, say, I answered this question incorrectly. I'm building a stage and these are the dimensions. I prefer to have it on this date, like just very straightforward stuff. Or even I want to withdraw this application. Even that we don't withdraw without someone putting it in writing for a correspondence.
Fantastic. Next question. Is there any resources for towing cars for open street projects?
The only time, yeah, go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Shanique.
So
Well,
you want
okay,
to take it?
I think it takes a village, meaning our whole team, right?
Okay, go for it.
The only time I think of towing is for a very high impact event where we get NYPD involved, and that is few and far between that our office is involved in, right? I'm talking levels of like New Year's Eve and Inauguration Day, and things like that. But you know, Shanique, you might be more aware because you deal with the high impact event space as well as Jeannie. So what do you think, Shanique?
Right, so that is true. I mean, we don't do a lot of towing, but we do let the applicants know that they should go pick up their no parking signs and go and secure the area prior to their event. Right? We understand that people sometimes ignore the no parking sign. So you try to secure it any way that you can, but you should put the no parking signs up days prior to your event so people in the area are aware that you are going to have an event and that they shouldn't park on that street, wherever you're going to be located, because not all the time we can get NYPD to go and tow.
All right, next question. For open culture events, can we collect donations for our nonprofit organization? Also, are we allowed to film and video?
Jeannie, what say you for fundraising?
There is no fundraising with this permit, but you can record with proper signage and use it.
And that signage just is an alert to your attendees that they will be filming and photography happening
Yeah.
at the event.
It's like a waiver.
Yeah, and not just the passerbyers, right? To say there was filming happening in this area. It's to alert the general public. Like I don't want my mug on any film, right? So it's to alert people like me as well. So
Okay, next question. You said you are charged even if the event is canceled. What if it rains and the event is not possible for citizens to safely assemble for the event? Are you still charged fees?
In that case, when it comes to weather, it's different because that's outside of your control. So we will work with the applicants, especially if we see that there's rain or if there was snow, whatever it is. we will work with the applicant in order to change their date so that they can have the event. We wouldn't charge fees if that situation does happen.
Okay. Next up, do open culture permits apply to plazas, or should we use the plaza permit type for open culture style events on the plazas? And does the same no fee policy apply for civic benefit events on plazas?
Wow, nobody's taking a stab at it. Hold on, Shawnee. So go one more time. Let's go with the first part first with the plazas.
Sure. So does the open culture permit apply to plazas?
No, it does not. You
Okay.
cannot use open culture on a plaza.
That's right. It's one block for one day.
Mm-hmm.
Next, part two. Should we use the plaza permit type for an open culture style event? And would that no fee policy apply for civic benefit events on the plazas? So basically, can civic events happen on plazas?
Civic events can happen on plazas. Yes.
Great. Okay. The next question says, you mentioned grants during the presentation. What did that mean? I believe what they were referring to is the eligibility for open culture events that can be found in this presentation that we'll share and on our website. A grant recipient is a grantee from DCLA or Borough Arts Council. I think, it dives a little deeper into that, but that's one of the requirements to get an open culture permit. Did I cover that?
Yes.
You did. I mean, also just look up DCLA open culture, and there'll be information on the grant application process as well, right? And it'll show you the borough. It'll give you a listing of the borough, the arts councils per borough, as well as like just the criteria.
Okay, next question. Jenny said, thank you. This is so helpful. Jenny, we appreciate that. Are any events in the evening permitted? Say a film screening where after dark may be a necessary factor.
Yeah, that's fine. Evening works.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do have that. Mm-hmm.
And how about an event end time?
We have to every day. It's like it has to end at midnight, right? Like that's
11:59.
Yeah.
Pull out permits in at 11:59. Yes.
Right.
Great. Okay, fantastic. Next question. It's a little off topic, but I love it. Are there any job openings at the mayor's office of citywide event coordination and management, and how would someone apply? I take so much joy in this. You can always Google mayor's office openings, and if any availabilities or if there are any positions open, they will be posted on the mayor's website there. And our final question, once the application has been approved, could you or other city agencies assist with event promotion? Is there a public calendar, social media support, communal list, etc.?
So can I take a stab at this first? We don't promote, and you don't want a city agency promoting anybody. That's how. Remember, this kind of relates to rolling bases and accepting applications. We are impartial to a T. That's why we also stress the importance of a civic event and not doing branding. Otherwise we talk about it being charged and assessed more fees. So in terms of promotion, it's not going to come from us. What we do is provide a fine events feature on CECM. And in CECM, if someone were to look up, something going on at such and such location, they would be able to see your open culture event if it falls within the parameters of what they search.
Okay. Fantastic.
The finance question is not for us. That one, right? So we're gonna remove
for
that.
any job applications, just go to the mayor's office and you can search there.
Right.
All right. That's it for the questions, everybody. Thank you very much for that. Anne, any final thoughts? Or otherwise, I think we can close it out. You're on mute.
I just wanted to thank you all for doing this presentation for our arts and culture organizations, and I want to thank everyone for joining the session. Just a reminder that we will be sharing the materials along with links to the recording of today's presentation on the DCLA YouTube channel. It's just going to take us a minute to get it uploaded, so it may take a couple of days to get you that link, but if you registered for the session, you will get a link to that. I'll post the link in the chat as well. And then just a reminder that for any to get updates on future programs, you can sign up for our newsletter. I will put that link in here as well, or follow us on social so that you can find out more about these kinds of informational sessions. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.